Hey mages, welcome to today's MTG Arena video today, and I have got some really cool decks for you today. All of these off-meta decks have been getting 5-0 results in MTGO. For those of you who don't know, MTGO is a Magic the Gathering online, so different to Arena. It's a different program. Slightly, well, more than slightly worse graphics, but it does mean you can play lots of different formats on there, and you can play lots of different things like leagues where these decks have come from. So these are highly performing decks. Like I said, they've all got 5-0, and they're off meta decks as well, so they'll be slightly different to the normal meta decks. Some might be just different takes on meta decks, but crafters and brewers have added their own spice and made them a little bit different, and they've been doing well, which is why I'm showing and casing them to you today, so maybe you can take them and surprise the meta and play them yourselves. So we're going to take a look at these 4 decks. They're all best of 3 decks as well, so if you want to play in best of 1, you can just take obviously just the first 60 cards, but there is a sideboard for all of these, but obviously the results from these are all from best of 3. So without further ado, we're going to take a look at the decks. If you want to get any of the decks in paper, don't forget to check out my sponsors, Cardmarket. Link down below, just clicking on it helps support me. And if you like the content, please smash that like, subscribe, and take a look at the Patreon as well. But without further ado, let's get on to look at the decks. So the first deck we have here is the 5-0 Boros Convoke deck. This is a really good take on a Boros aggro type of deck, and it plays around main card Knight Errant of Eos. This is a Convoke card. Get this down really early if you can by convoking, which means creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 mana of that creature's colour. So this will enter the battlefield. You look at the top 6, may reveal up to 2 creature cards with mana of X or less from them, where X is the number of creatures that convoked it, and then put the cards into your hand, and then this will go onto the battlefield, which is absolutely amazing. This 5 mana always obviously costs a lot less if you can, and then it's card draw. Put it in, looking at cards, refilling your hand, and then you get a 4/4 human knight as well. What intrigued me to this deck as well is that it plays, one of my favourite is the Bunnycorn, Regal Bunnycorn, with an amass of creatures in here. This Bunnycorn's power and toughness are equal to the number of non-land permanents you control. So it doesn't just have to be creatures, it's just non-land permanents. I would have loved this to have trample as well, but we can't always just make busted cards. When you look at this, we have 33 creatures in this deck. It's massive, so many creatures. There's 5 artifacts as well. There's a construct and 4 soldiers in those artifacts, so part of the creatures. CMC average of 2-point run, and it runs just the 22 lands in this deck. But those are the 2 main protagonists in this deck, which is the Regal Bunnycorn to build up as big as you can and hopefully get through with some damage. Maybe add in that Monstrous Rage in it for a nice little bit of trample as well, giving it the trample token. It does just rust one of these, which I found very interesting because I would have loved a few more of these because I just love Monstrous Rage. But it also has other spells in there as well. So let's take a look at the creatures first of all, because there's so many of them. Yoshian Frontliner, nice coming down. Turn 1 play, can use as Convoke, but it doesn't add a colour, this one, remember. It adds a colourless because it is a colourless creature as well. But what's good about this, it can be sacked with Gleeful Demolition. Destroy target artifact, so you destroy your own artifact, and then if you control that artifact, create 3 red Flexing. Right, we're going to call them Flexing. Create 3 flexing goblin creature tokens, because you will be flexing, because you'll be getting your Knight Errant down so much quicker as well. We've got Vidalcan that can come and do 1 damage and obviously be sacked for Convoke quite easily. And then we have Iron Prentice in there as a single 1/of as well, for an artifact to be destroyed with the Gleeful Demolition. So targets for that are really sweet. Obviously, when you add all these different types of tokens in there, it's going to make your Regal Bunnycorn bigger as well. It's not just about getting, obviously, the Convoke. You can go down with a turn 2, and this could be huge by turn 3 and smashing in if opponent doesn't have any defences. Resolutes will make 2 creatures, which is good as well. Charming Scoundrel can make a treasure token, so it can trigger another non-land permanent for Bunnycorn. This also can give something an aura. It gives it +1/1, and then there's a little drain when that goes in. But Charming Scoundrel is a very good versatile creature that just has lots to offer for it for 2 mana. Choosing one of them, discarding and drawing treasure token to ramp out, or the extra wicked token as well. Raging Battermouse can make that second spell cost 1 less to cards, and at the beginning of your combat, if 2 or more non-land permanents in the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter in it, and with stuff like the Gleeful adding multiples in, which is good. Resolute Reinforcements can add multiple permanents. Then you've got Charming Scoundrel as well that can do it. This turns into a really good card and just makes things a little bit cheaper as well. The last card is Imodane's Recruiter. We're going to look at train troops for the adventure, creating 2/2/2 knights, so value there, adding 2 permanents coming into the battlefield. And when Imodanes enter battlefield, creature you control get +1/0 and haste. Imagine giving your Regal Bunnicorn haste or just your knight. Oh, that would just be really, really good. Give it all creatures as well. +1/0 and haste to end of turn. We've got Mirex to add tokens is another way to get that second interaction of tournaments coming in as well. Sokizan does the same thing. And then the basics and just your mixture of good lands. It runs 4 Battleforge and just a 1 Sandown pass. It goes for more basics in this one. So you're not being hit with so many rare lands with this. But all in all, this is a very good deck, very aggro. And it just looks really fun to play. And yeah, I can see why it did a really good list of 5-0. Sideboard, looking at the sideboard. You got removal in there, Lithomatic Barrage. Now, do we run a lot of creatures? So Thalia is a good one to come in because we don't run many non-creature spells. Elish Norn, we can stop opponents, ETBs with that. More Lithomatic Barrage. Twisted Faculty is in there as well, where we gain control of a target creature, which is good if opponents are playing something that's really big. We got a few of them in there. And then 4 Witchstalker Frenzy, 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked. I've got a lot of creatures. Even if you just send, your 1/1s in there, and then this could cost a lot less. Instant speed, 5 damage to target creature, which deals with Sheoldred, of course, which is very, very nice. All in all, a very fun deck. Let me know if you want to play this one, but we're going to get on to the next deck. Now we have a 5-0 Besiege deck. So this is a Besiege, the mirror deck. Search your library for a card, exile it face down. If the spell was bargained, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. If it's 4 or less, exile card in your hand if it wasn't cast that way. So this is about bargain. You may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment or token as you cast this spell to get that ability. But Besiege is just a really good card. One of the most expensive cards from the new set as well, along with Agatha. This is definitely what you would be pulling in paper if you're opening the packs. There's a couple of leading cards in Wilds of Eldraine, and this is definitely one of them. I like, for me, it plays a lot of Golgari has some really strong cards in this, so I can see why it's doing well. Cards like Mosswood Dread Knight is amazing. Dread Whispers, draw a card, lose a life. Then you get to play your 3/2 Trampler for 2 mana. You may cast this card from your graveyard as an adventure, so you get to do it again. It's just such a good card. You can repeat it. Just one of the best value creatures from that set as well, without a doubt. It also plays Virtua Persistent. Golgari is just hitting those numbers for me this time. It's hitting those top cards from Wilds of Eldraine Standard. It's added some really spicy stuff into the standard decks. And this is another one to pay for the sorcery, the scorn. Target creature gets -3/-3 to end of turn. And then your late game Virtua Persistent comes in there. Beginning your upkeep, put target card from a graveyard, so yours or your opponent, on the battlefield under your control. And then the deck just runs some really, really strong stuff. Blossoming Tortoise, you get to mill, so fill up for the Virtue. This will return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and activated land spells cost 1 less to activate. And then the land creatures also get +1/1. So we have the new Restless Cottage. 4/4 turned into a 5/5, attacking a graveyard and then making a food token is a good way. And I tell you, this turns into a wing con creature in your land base. Also has a single mistress that obviously can be pumped as well. But the main protagonist of this is this Restless Cottage. I absolutely love it. We have quite a few singles of here. We got Hemrika in there as a one of as well. Beginning of your combat turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen, so sack a creature. Opponent's got a big creature, it goes in the yard, ready for the Virtue, draw a card, lose your life, or you can transform as well. We got a single Sorin, just a really good Planeswalker for 4 mana. Look at the top card, you may reveal a card, put it in your hand, make a vampire or 13 damage. And obviously Besiege gets these spells 4 mana or less, so we get the Blossomings, we got Sorin, Sheoldred, don't need to talk about that one, it's just best card in standard probably. Henrika as well, so we can basically get anything other than the Persistence, which is really sweet. I'm not sure you can get Persistence because of the sorcery spell. It is permanent. No, it's not permanent, so maybe you can. Someone will have to tell me that. Maybe you can get it because of the Locthwain Scorn sorcery, so somebody let me know in the comments down below about that. It runs Lord Skitter. Exile, it's really good for attacking graveyards, this one. So anyone, coming across those Atraxa decks and everything like that, where they're trying to get them into play early, this is probably the kind of deck that works against that deck with Braids. Plenty of sacrifice in here. Back for seconds. When we do sacrifice stuff, if we don't, not waiting longer for our virtue, we have back for seconds. Return up to 2 target creature cards from graveyard to your hand. If the spell is bargain, though, you can put one of them onto the battlefield instead, which is pretty sweet. For the 3 mana, bargain it if we can. Now, bargain, we got Blood Fountain to sack if we want to. It makes a blood token as well, so that's another sackable thing that we can do, which is good for the Besiege in this deck as well, so that's what you're really using this for. If you have to, you can sacrifice it itself, because it could return 2 good creature cards back from your graveyard to your hand after opponent kills them, or you've milled them, or anything like that. So it has a lot of synergy in this deck, and I can see why it's a hard deck to put away, if you're trying to beat it. Maybe aggro does go underneath, but you've still got early removal with cut down and go for the throat and stuff like that, so removal. And then you've still got, obviously, the virtue with the -3/3 as well. So it does have removal and ways to deal with that. It also runs the Spiteful Hexmage, which I haven't seen in many decks at all, but this will create a Curse Roll token as well. So that's another enchantment that can be sacked to Besiege. This is a 3/2 for 1 mana. This is really... But you have to attach the curse token to a target creature you control. So it's not too bad. I think it's a really, really good card. But it does change the power and toughness. So it puts it to a 1/1, but gives you something sackable. So if this is your turn 1 play, it's not going to be a 3/2. It's going to go down as a 1/1. But it does put on that enchantment ready for Besiege, which I think is pretty sweet, to be honest. Deep Root Wayfinder is another card in the deck. Deals combat damage to a battle or else gets Surveil. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. But is a 2/3 for 2 as well, which is nice. The Surveil is good on that and works very well with the deck as well. I spoke about the land base. It has those creature lands, which are nice, and then it has the normal. When you're playing any colours, you use these channel lands, 1 Takenuma, 1 Besiege you. Good way to recur something, and then a lot of rare lands, Deathcat, Llanowar, and stuff like that. But it does run a few basics as well. So, as normal, most competitive decks do run multiple cards, will run a lot of those lands. I always say, if anyone's watching these sort of decks for the first time, lands are obviously one of the most important cards to craft. And even if you've got a budget deck, lands are what you want to upgrade first. But let's have a look at the sideboard now. I'm digressing. Cut down in there, Duress as well to attack hands, more removal, cut down, go for the throat. Bit of card draw, Phyrexian Arena, even more removal with Tear Asunder. We've got another Phyrexian Arena in there. The End is in there as well. Liliana the Veil can come in, good against control and sack it, opponents to sack creatures and everything like that. Obliterator's in the sideboard for a bit more power, and it is 4 mana as well, so works very, very well. And then we have Decadent Dragon. Now, I did first of all wonder, how is Decadent Dragon in this? And I was thinking, how can we get it? But of course it's with Besiege. The brewer is a lot cleverer than me, because you can pay that 4 mana and you really want to get that onto the battlefield, which you can, which Decadent Dragon can be pulled straight on there, as long as you use the bargain effect. And then another good 4 mana creature, bit of value with the Baloth, comes in, gains 4 life, and a spell ability called discard it, you just get to put it straight on the battlefield. So a very well thought out deck. I'm missing a couple of cards for this one. Not many. Don't normally see it when it's like that. I'm missing a couple of Spiteful Hexmage and a Besiege, but I think this is one that I'm going to crew and definitely give a go and see how good it is, because it's a kind of deck that I really like at the moment. Next deck we go to is a blue-white loyalty deck. So this is based around Virtue of Loyalty. I love most of the Virtue cards, to be honest, from ones I've played with. This has Ardenvale Fealty, where you can instantly make a 2/2 Vigilance token and can come down for 5 mana. And it does get out of control if, even when, in a token deck where you keep making tokens, you keep adding those 1/1 counters and flipping them up so they've got pseudo vigilance, is really, really strong. And this is definitely a card that your opponents will always want to get rid of, but the basis of this deck, and it does very, very well. So what you're looking in here is making tokens. You've got Wedding Announcement as a 4 of in here. We'll need them to come in and crack down some of those 1/1s that will eventually get really massive. It's got a 4 of Wandering Emperor as well, making the Samurai tokens as best you can and build them up with 1/1 counters, and can obviously be used as that instant speed removal coming in and exiling a tapped attacking creature potentially as well. What it does as well is Sunfall as the removal, because it will exile all creatures and incubate X. This will give you another massive, obviously, token potentially, and it can start attacking in. Mirix is in there as a 2 of to make the little 1/1 Phyrexian Mites. and then those might get bigger as well with virtues. And it's not legendary, so you can have multiples of these on the field and then just start bouncing all these counters on. It's a deck that has to be one with, obviously it's got a 5-0 because, you know, it's a very good deck, but it's a grindy deck. So if this is your jam, then this is, you know, it's not like the other two decks at all. This is totally different. This is a lot of counter magic, 4 make disappears, 2 negates, it's got dissipates. You either love or hate these decks to play them. Now, personally, as a blue mage, I'm going to love them. It's got 4 laydown removal because we do run 8 planes in the deck as well. And we've got Rafines as the planes as well. March of Otherworld Light that I'm finding is, you know, becoming more useful. The Exile Artifact Creature Enchantment is becoming good, obviously, as well. So this is in there as a couple of. And then lots of ways to dig and find those virtues and wedding announcements, which is what really makes this deck tick, with 4 memory deluges. There's 4 in there. So you really do have to dig your way to find the interaction and your win con. That's what, you know, this deck is all about. Land pace, like mental rare lands in here. Well, it does run 8 planes, so we will say that for the deck. But 4 Raffine's Tower, 4 Sparas, 2 Mirrex as well, a Darker, Ottawara, and a Ganju's, and then a few basics. But it does run 27 land in this deck because it's a CMC average of higher, a 3.1. And with blue-white control decks or any type of control decks, you don't really want to be missing your land drop. So this is why, you know, this is in here. If we take a look at the sideboard, some more creatures in here. We've got Malevolent Hermit. This can come in there. Nice 2/1, sacrifice at counter target, so more counter magic available. And then non-creature spells you control can't be counted when it flips to the Geist as well, which is very good in any type of control deck. You want this on the field because you don't want your virtues being countered or anything like that. Lots more removal. Knockout Blow is in there. 4 damage to target attacking creature or blocking creature, and you gain 2 life. Great against red decks. Farewell, Destroy Evil, Temporary Lockdown as well. Good against the early aggros and definitely good against the enchantment decks. And then a bit more counter magic in Disdainful Stroke, and an extra little win con. That cool card that makes. I'm surprised this wasn't the main, but I suppose it can come in from the sideboard. Add those extra incubate tokens, and then the virtual will do its stuff. But I do like this deck, as you can see. I've got all the cards because I'm a blue mage, and these are the kind of cards that I will play with. So yeah, you could probably expect to see this in a video soon, but nice 5-0 list, this one. So the next deck we have is an Gruul Agatha deck. So Agatha, Soul's Cauldron, the mega pull from the whole set. I think this is now the most expensive card in paper. Probably is, let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Agatha Soul Card out the standard set this is. So you may spend mana as though mana will any colour to activate abilities of creatures you control. Creatures you control with 1/1 counter them have all the abilities of creatures exiled with the Cauldron, and then you can exile target card from a graveyard. When your card is exiled away, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control as well. And that is just a 2 mana and a tap ability, mythic. Very strong. Unfortunately, I don't have any in my collection at all. So for this one, I want you guys to give it a go if you can. If you're an Agatha player and it's just a card that you crafted first of all, I just haven't got the mythics. Let me know what it's like, but obviously it's a proven winning deck because it's got a 5-0 list. So looking at this list, Agatha is obviously the main card around it, but then has lots of other cool cards as well. Voldaren 3 Seeker, this can sacrifice a creature, it deals damage equal to its power, so it can be like a fling effect as well. Has backup too, so it can be put in with 2 1/1 counters on target creature as well. We have Questing Druid, can't speak today. Exile the top 2 cards until the end of turn. You may play those cards with Seek the Beast as well. When you cast a spell that's white, blue, black or red, put a 1/1 counter on it. And this is the card that can just absolutely build up to be the beater. You're putting all your counters on the Questing Druid, and then when you're just playing those red spells, it can just get really, really big. Other cards in the deck as well. We've got Kami of Whispered Hopes. You want cards with ability, so this has add X mana, where X is Kami's Whispered Hopes power as well, and another one that's just going to multiply counters as well. So you need cards like this with the backup to sacrifice, pay that 1 sacrifice. Any card can be used potentially as a fling. So fling in a massive Questing Druid. Witchstalker Frenzy, the more removal, we're seeing this one in a few decks now. 5 damage because obviously Sheoldred is such a card. Thundering Reju, Has haste. When it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control. Then Thunder and Rage deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures. And as we're dealing, putting counters on multiple different things, we're modifying them. We can put counters obviously on with Agatha as well. This can be a massive hit, and we could have lots of modified creatures in there. And that could honestly just be the attack and win you need with the Thundering Rage at your top end in this. It also has Haywire Might. Nice this as well. Ends the bat. When it dies, you gain 2 life. Also has a green, sacrifice it, exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment as well. And we have Ginger Brute that has these abilities of can't be blocked except creatures with haste, and sacrifice Ginger Brute, you gain 3 life. So this is a very important card obviously for the deck, because you want to spend a mana of any colour to activate the abilities of creatures you control with that, and the creatures with the counters on all have the exile activated abilities of all the creatures exiled with it, so we can get our opponents and we can do our own with all these activated abilities, and you just build up a massive army. It seems a tricky deck to play, but I might be completely wrong. I'm just looking at it and thinking, you've got to know what to exile, when to put stuff into attack and everything like that. So for me, I would, it's not my style of deck, but I'd have to put a few games in to give it a try. But I overall do like the look of the deck. Tov will stand for a bit more protection as well. So this just protects your creatures, protecting that questing druid. Probably your Thundering Rage as well is one that you really want to protect. And then it runs a 4 of Wrenn and Realmbreaker. So this gives the lands you control have had 1 mana of any colour, and then you can turn a target land, becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with Vigilance, Hexproof and Haste to end a turn, or mill 3 cards, and then you may put a permanent card from the run-the-mill cards in your hand. So it's always among the ones you mill, so you're going to have to, get lucky with that, I suppose. -7 is you get an emblem, you may play land cards and cast permanent spells from the graveyard. So getting this ticked up to 7 is really good, and then potentially, as long as your graveyard's not being attacked, you can get your Agathas back. It seems to have a good bit of recursion in here for this type of deck. Other than that, Warcrafting, 5 damage to target creature, planeswalker or battle. And then we go to the land base. So we got Compulsions, Rock Veils, Copperline, Fall, all the rares of them, a couple of Mirrex token as normals. It's a general same land base. When you go to the colours, you're seeing the same sort of land base in most of these decks. So once you craft them, you've got the Gruul land base here. You can play any number of different Gruul decks as well. So that is one good thing about crafting all the lands. Quick look at the sideboard. More Witches' Frenzies, as always. That 5 damage is very good. Twisted Faulty, gaining control. You can see a lot of the same cards in the sideboards that are just used, and Twisted Faulty can be a win con as well, so it's a good card to have in there. More Haywire Might, more Warcrafting Removing, Lithomatic Barrage. So a lot of the same. Different in this one though, we do have 3 Brothers End, 3 damage to each creature, can sweep mono red, and the little weenie decks white if they don't get their generals on too quick, so that's good for that. And then we have a Strangle in there and a couple more of the same creatures in the deck. But yeah, this has been the 5-0 list today. Decks that are off matter and are getting winning results. Let me know what you think of this this little series as well. So I'll probably be keeping this up and sourcing out different decks for you every now and again. I know everyone likes the top deck list, the budget versions, the 0 rares, and obviously the meta decks and everything like that. So I appreciate all the support you've given. Thumbs up really does help sharing these videos. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Just let me know in the comments which ones you are going to give a try to play, and yeah, let me know how you get on. Anyway, you lot take care, and I'll see you on the next video.